How you doing? Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Bit of water on the go. Sparkling. Right. Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, viewing figures. I'm seeing an awful lot of people sort of berating this, trying to belittle it, this event, this incredible event, really. If you saw the Taylor Serrano fight, you know, it was a roaring success. Madison Square Garden, 20,000 people. I only watched it on telly, or not telly, but on my computer. But it looked like an incredible event, magnificent atmosphere and everything, and a great advert for women's boxing. But we come down to the viewing figures, and some people have said, well, they're sort of poo-pooing it. Not very impressive. Only 1.5 million people on DAZN watched it. So what? Look how many people watch Joshua fights. Look how many people watch Canelo fights. Look at this, look at that, look at the other. Look, let's get some perspective here, okay? Before you start slagging off Taylor Serrano, saying it wasn't the great success that people, mainly Eddie Hearn, are saying it was, let's have a bit of perspective. Let's have a bit of objectivity, because let's make no mistake about it. A lot of the people that are belittling Serrano versus Taylor as an event, as a success, as a viewing success, have an agenda. They don't like women's boxing. Not all of them. Some of them do have a bit of objectivity. They're just wrong. But some people don't like women's boxing. They consider it to be part of some sort of, I don't know, feminization of society, or they feel emasculated because women have pulled on boxing gloves. To me, these are not very confident men, let's put it that way. I mean, if your maleness, if your masculinity is threatened by women boxing, you probably didn't have a lot of masculinity to start with. But anyway, let's get back to the viewing figures. Now, Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano, 1.5 million, give or take a few 100,000, on DAZN. Not ESPN, not Sky Sports, DAZN. That's the important thing. A small fledgling platform which doesn't have a great deal of excess outlets, if any. I can't think of DAZN. Sort of farming out their product to anyone else, actually, but I could be wrong about that. But anyway, if you are on Sky, or let's put it this way, if you're on ESPN, what happens? Well, you've got ESPN, you've got ESPN Plus, you've got ESPN Deportes. ESPN have a deal with Sky, which means that their product goes onto Sky. They're big platforms, big platforms. So if you take something like, let's take another recent fight, Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson, Oscar Valdez, Shakur Stevenson. On ESPN, that did, reports eye averages 1.35 million, compared to 1.5 million with Taylor Serrano on DAZN. However, ESPN Plus, ESPN Deportes, Sky Sports, they farm out that fight to other outlets, which increases the viewing figures inevitably, because it's a big platform, ESPN, massive platform. The actual viewing figures on ESPN were 1.35 million. DAZN don't have that option. They don't have deals with Sky or BT Sports or anything. It's DAZN. It's an app. It's a fledgling concept, a fledgling platform for boxing. So, of course, something like Valdez-Stevenson will, and also, let's not forget the territories. I mean, the territories are excessive, 100 plus, 100, I can't remember the exact figure, well over 100 territories. DAZN have 26 territories. Currently, it's growing, but it's only 26. That's what they say. That's what DAZN says anyway. No reason to disbelieve them. But it's growing. It's growing. Let's take the big cash cow of boxing, Canelo. Okay. So when Canelo fought Rocky Fielding, the total amount of, this is back in, was it 2018? I could have that wrong, but he fought Rocky Fielding. The total viewing figures, when you add everything together, was 26 million. Okay. When Canelo first appeared on DAZN against Gary Jacobs, his viewing figures were 1.2 million. Okay, that's on DAZN. So it shows you the difference between the difference that the size of the platform makes for ultimately how many people get to see this fight or do see the fight. Again, I repeat, different platform, the different size of the platform matters. The people that berate Taylor Serrano for 1.5 million on DAZN are probably the same people who would put a flyweight in with a middleweight and then laugh at the flyweight when he gets the shit beaten out of him. They're not being realistic. They have an agenda, perhaps, that is anti the flyweight. Maybe they don't like the flyweight. Maybe they're glad the middleweight beat the flyweight up because, you know, they're just not keen on the flyweight. It's the same with people that are berating, trying to put down the magnificent event that was Serrano versus Taylor. It was a brilliant fight, all right? If you like boxing, don't mind whether it's women or men, it was a brilliant fight. Fantastic fight. One of the best of the year. And the event itself, 20,000 people turn up to watch two women fight. That's a huge step forward for women's boxing. Don't you see this? Don't you get it? Maybe you don't want to get it. But it kind of irritates me when people who are intelligent, the stupid people I can handle because they're stupid. And, you know, you don't take stupidity too seriously. You just sort of roll your eyes a little bit and say, oh, whatever. But some people are intelligent and they're saying this stuff. And that irritates me because they're clearly not being objective. In fact, they're being biased, okay? Very biased. Such is life. We get biased people in life. But, you know, you kind of accept them to an extent, but when they talk absolute drivel, you've got to step in and say, let's have some perspective here, because that's what it's about, perspective. Bigger platforms, established platforms, Sky with all of its news outlets, enormous reach to people, DAZN, an app, a new idea, a new concept, taking women's boxing, which is growing. Women's boxing doesn't have anywhere near the status of men's boxing because it hasn't been around well, not in its current form, shall we say. It hasn't been around for more than, what, 10, 15 years? Men's glove boxing goes back 140 years, roughly, okay? You have to have perspective if you want to be fair, if you want to be fair to it. So, yeah, I think, again, at the risk of repeating myself, Taylor Serrano was a roaring success, relatively speaking. A huge step up for women's boxing. Women's boxing, again, a fledgling sport. You can't compare it to the men's. Is the quality as good as the men's? No, of course it isn't. It's only been around for, again, 10, 15 years in its current incarnation. The talent pool is shallow. The men's talent pool is deep in most divisions. And yes, some of the criticism, like, for example, the criticism about women, you know, women winning world titles when there aren't really many worthy opponents in their division. Yeah, I get it. Those criticisms I can listen to. But when people take an event like Taylor Serrano and try to belittle it and say that it's nothing and that the figures are nothing and that the event itself was just a blown up, Eddie Hearn's bells and whistles, exaggeration, whatever you want to call it. No, it wasn't. Eddie Hearn talks a lot of nonsense, and he's a blowhard because he's a promoter. He's got to promote his stuff. But on this occasion, he was right. He was right. A great event for women's boxing. Taylor Serrano. And a very good card, actually. I really enjoyed the overall card. So a huge step up for women's boxing, and yeah, I'm glad. I want more boxing. Male, female, better boxing, big events. I want to see it. I want to see it all. So there's just a few words about the bias and the lack of objectivity and the very creepy, insidious, rather slimy. What other adjectives can I use? I can't think of any offhand. That bias that exists, slimy, creepy, insidious bias from a lot of people who should know better, who do know better, that choose to just be, you know, bigots by another name, misogynist. I don't know, maybe. Anyway, that's my spiel for today. Thank you for listening. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Takes you a second, boom boom, with the subscribe button. Like the video or dislike the video, whichever one you fancy. And thank you for your time, and we will speak again soon. Take care for now. Bye bye.